Well, welcome. I would love for you to tell us who you are, what have you been doing, and why you love physical training so much.
So I'm Jeff Hambrecht. I've been in health and fitness. This is going on 17 years now. So I actually originally went to school for accounting. And then I tell people my aha moment was my mom met me at the gym, showed her some core exercises. 10 minutes later, she gave me $10 and the switch flipped. And I'm like, I can get paid to help people get in shape. So from then we went on the fitness journey. I started off at a small 24-hour fitness, just folding towels while I was getting through school, and then worked my way up to training, ran some regional, national level programs for Lifetime, went through the corporate thing, owned my own gym for a couple of years, strength and conditioning center for athletes. And then I got into corporate wellness about 6 years ago because I was getting ready to be a family, working the 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, training people over and over again. It was good, but I wanted to reach more people. Like, you get hundreds of people you get through the door in gyms, but I wanted to reach hundreds of thousands. So I got into corporate wellness and started being able to educate people on full health and wellness, because fitness is a small piece of health and wellness. Yeah. I would say 10% of it comes from fitness and 90% is what do you do outside of the gym. So I got into that to help educate the everyday person too. When I first got in, I was cocky, I was young. If you didn't work hard, I didn't want to work with you. Like that mindset of what we all have is discipline mindset. But you got to realize most people out there aren't disciplined. So I'm like, well, how do I get these people who are way down here as far as discipline and motivation to start climbing the ladder to get healthy? So I got really dug deep into the psychology piece of it. Why are people lazy? Why don't they want to be in shape? And I came to conclusions like no one wakes up and wants to be sloppy and out of shape and all this. They just don't know where to begin. And where we live in America, which is one of the greatest countries on earth for health and fitness, is one of the worst. Yeah. Most of our food, chemicals we spray them with, everything under the sun is banned everywhere else. So that's why we're over 50% obesity rate now. So I got into the field to educate and dive in and just help people start small, but then get to a point where they can be disciplined and motivated for their family, for whoever they're doing it for. So that's why I got into it. And then me personally, for fitness, I grew up playing soccer, college soccer. Fitness was always something I tell people I'm very blessed. A lot of people don't have a great example of what discipline looks like at a young age. Between my mom and grandpa, my grandpa started an accounting business in the back of a barbershop, 10 by 10 room, and owned the building and had the largest practice in Iowa within 5 years. Started off making $100 a month with 3 kids and then grew it into that. And so that's what I grew up around, was him. And then my mom has woke up at 4 a.m. since I was born, 4 a.m. She used to be a runner. Now she swims 2 miles every day at 4 a.m. and then goes to work for 12 hours. So prioritizing fitness and seeing what it can do for the rest of your life was always been motivating to me. So I've always had that motivation, and the discipline had to go along with it. But I also, at some points in my life, put fitness over some of the other parts that mattered in my life. So I tell people, and we'll dive into this later tonight too, is I have 4 pillars, and it's faith, fitness, family, and business in that order. And sometimes people look at it and they're like, wait, you're going to put fitness over your family? I go, I didn't say put it in place. I said prioritize it. Because if I don't prioritize my health and fitness, how can I be there for my family?
Good for your family.
You're not going to be good. If I'm tired, out of shape, not putting the right foods and supplements in my body, I can't be there for my kids. I can't be there for my spouse. So I prioritize it. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean in place of. So some people take that as, well, I got to go be in shape. So if it's Saturday morning, I got to go, I'm going to get up at 9 and I'm going to leave it to my spouse. That doesn't work. Not. You have to prioritize it. So that's where people get a little bit, blurry line. Because, I'm sure, Chad, you get this a lot too. Is I wish I could be like you. I'm like, I don't think you do.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and I'm like, Same thing.
You don't want it.
But I'm like, and I say, and I know we've had this conversation, and I tell people in the most polite way, I don't mean to be cocky when I say, I'm like, no, you don't. Because like I was telling George, he's like, do you have a busy day today? I'm like, well, today I woke up, I took care of both my kids, cooked them breakfast from scratch, dropped them off at 2 different places, took my dog out. I'm here with you guys. I'm going to go to work for a couple hours. I'm going to do a full High Rocks hour workout, take my dog to get shots, walk him a couple miles, and be back here to see you guys tonight.
Right.
That's something people are probably going to pull fitness out of that first.
Yeah, for sure.
They're going to
be the first thing to go.
First thing to go is going to be, I'm going to stop and get fast food because I don't have time. I'm not going to get that hour window workout in. So that discipline. So I tell them like, you really don't, but if I really hope you do, but because of my fitness and my health and wellness being prioritized, now I can be there for everyone else. So that's why that faith obviously is number one in my life, and fitness is right behind it, because now I'm going to be there for my family. So I'm going to be the best dad, son, friend I can be. And then at the bottom of that is business, because my business is going to be a cakewalk if I have all those 3 things in line. My business can thrive because if I have to go to meetings and do this and beyond, I'm already there. I've already prioritized fitness. My body can operate at a high percentage. I've gotten my sleep. I've got my food in. I can crush my business. Like my business piece of stuff for me is the easiest thing to do because I've already prioritized the things that really matter in life. So my business will thrive. And it all comes back, honestly, to number one. If I put my faith first, God's going to set up everything else for me. As long as I'm pouring into him, everything's going to be set up for me. The job that I have now is all his grace. I'm the director of health and wellness for the state of Oklahoma right now. I got that job only by God's grace. I got here, didn't know anybody. I was homeless back in 2021 before I moved here. Came here, was about ready to get into sales and get out of it. I had my finger on the button to submit my acceptance for Paycom to get into sales, and they got a call from United Health. Hey, we want to interview you for this role as director of health and wellness, but it doesn't hire out for 6 weeks. I only had enough money to last me 3 more weeks, but faith is first. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put my faith in God, and I'm gonna take this opportunity. Interviewed for it. They said it'll be 3 weeks before you hear back from us. We have 20, 30 more candidates to interview. The next day, got the call, you got the job. So now, I run a health and wellness program for about 150,000 people, but for me, it's enjoyable. Like, it's not stressful for me because everything else is prioritized for me. So if I have deadlines and stuff to meet, I've already been up since 5 a.m. working out, crushing, or I was there late at night. I'm good. Mentally, I'm sharp. My body's taken care of. I can keep up. So that allows me to prioritize that fitness. Now the rest of everything's going to fall in line.
So you hit on some very important things, and I was kind of making note. A couple of them, and I'll go through them, and I want to ask you a few questions. So you mentioned one that you mentioned was discipline at a young age, and we'll get back to that. But because I am curious about what you believe is a healthy age to begin physical discipline and things like that. And also, I was in a meeting yesterday, and a young man said to me, he said, well, I've been working out in the mornings, but I didn't yesterday. And I have less energy today than I did yesterday. And I looked at him and I said, well, what do you think? What did you think would happen? So I think a common misconception is that if I exercise, I will be tired, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I want to dive into that a little bit because you probably understand the mechanics of that.
Yeah.
And then also, I want to talk a little bit about sleep schedule. And so you also mentioned, like, where does the journey begin? And I would like for our viewers to understand, like, if they have fallen off the wagon, and if they are, maybe they're self-conscious now at this point. Maybe 100%. They have a dad bod. Yeah. And maybe they don't want to go to the gym because it's going to just kill their confidence worse than if they just stayed away and wore sweaters.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Wore some baggy clothes.
There's got to be a starting point. So that's the first thing I want to ask you. Like, so you find someone, dad bod 101
from zero,
and he's self-conscious, and so all he does when he feels like crap about himself is he drinks another beer, and he feels better about himself for a little while, and then he eats a freaking honey bun, sneaks into the pantry and has a few Oreos, because he doesn't want anyone to see him eating the Oreos. Where does he begin?
Where does it begin? So it's a good question that I get asked a lot. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, I used to be really cocky in my training at an early age, and I just assumed everyone's disciplined. And to me, I'm like, this can't be that friggin' hard. Just don't eat honey buns, go to work out. But then I started to, step back. And the more that I put God first in my life, I realized I need to meet people where they're at. Yeah. Like everyone, in this room, we're a little bit more high energized, driven individuals. That's not a cocky statement. It's truth.
It's just what we've created for ourselves.
But we also all started somewhere.
We did.
And so for me, I tell people, okay, so first of all, let's get in order of the why. Yeah. Like I know I've watched a little bit of your guys' stuff. I am a big believer that if you don't have a why in life, you're not going to stick to your routine. Yeah. For me, my why, like we talked about before we got on here, is my kiddos. Yeah. And I want to be able to keep up with them, run all over, play sports well past when my son's in the college age. So for me, my why is my kids. And I go a little bit dark with it. And I think if I miss this one day, a few years from now, my son's going to not want to play football with me anymore because I'm going to be too out of shape to do it. So I go to a place of, if I miss today, I'm not missing for myself because I could care less about me. Right. I'm letting my children down. Yeah. So the first thing I always sat down with my clients, I'm like, why are you here? And I would make them like, you need to tell me why you're here. Because if you don't have a why, this is great. You're going to see some results. But at first sign of adversity, you're going to
back out.
That's it. You're done. So you need to have a solid foundation of why is this important to you?
But you've experienced what a peak level of performance, how that affects and impacts your life.
Right.
You've seen, because you've been doing it, right? So you probably feel a level of inspiration and motivation and enthusiasm and drive and discipline that someone's never tasted. Right? Yet. So how do you take someone, so we've got best, we've got better, and then we've got standard.
Oh, yeah.
And so these men, they're maybe they're not even below standard. So they don't even, but they never maybe have experienced what it feels like to be better. So if they ask themselves why, maybe the why is like, well, I don't need to because I'm towing the line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what would encourage a guy to say, man, how would they come to know that there is better available?
And that's a really good question.
If you ate at Sirloin Stockade your whole life and you had their sirloin, 8-ounce sirloin, you're like, man, it's the best steak ever. Yeah. Somebody comes in and says, bro, you haven't had a 12-ounce filet from Mahogany.
Right.
And they're like, well, why would I? This is wonderful. I get the smothered mushrooms on top and,
everything in there. Right.
And why would I, what is this even?
So I think a lot of people eventually, like to your point, the guys who are coasting along are probably going to coast along until they hit some sort of snag or bump in the road, a health scare, a bad blood test.
Forces them to take action.
So I would love to tell you, people come in the gym all the time and they're ready.
But there's a reason
why they're there. Okay. Otherwise, they're going to keep eating the steak, and because why would they? I mean, it all goes back to there's one of my favorite clips from a faith side is from God's Not Dead, and Dean Cain's sitting there with his mom who has Alzheimer's, and he's like, I have everything and I'm horrible and you're the best person ever and you have dementia. And she says, sin is like a jail cell, a comfortable jail cell. The door's wide open, but why would you ever want to leave? Same in health and wellness.
And when you start to try to leave is when things fall apart.
So why would you leave that comfortability unless something happens? So everyone's going to have an aha moment, whether it's, I wake up and I can't play with my kid, or I try to go run somewhere and I'm out of breath. Something's going to bring them in. So that part and that piece is going to be there. Well, it could be a loved one. Something's going to happen that's going to bring them into the gym or bring them into fitness. Now, that's actually, I would argue, the easier part. The hardest part is to keep them with it. Because initially, whether it's a bad blood test or I can't even run down the block, insert situation here, they're going to be motivated temporarily. But then to your point, how do I keep them disciplined? And with that, I tell them, okay, so my first order of business is I just need you to move and watch what you eat. I don't try to drastically change everyone. I used to. Now I say, all right, when I had clients, I meet with them, I'm like, I just need you to make it to the gym, move 3 days a week, and for 5 days, the next 5 days, just track your food. I just need you to do that. I don't need you to do anything else. Just track it. I don't even care what you eat. Because then if I put it on paper and I go, okay, so then we meet a week later. Did you make the gym 3 days? Yep. Did you track everything? Like I say, don't leave anything out. If you eat a dozen cookies, put it on there.
Yeah.
And then I show them. Because when you're, to your point, if I'm constantly in that, I don't really notice. And then I just slide the paper to them and I go over meal by meal and it starts to click and
they have to decide for themselves that it's either acceptable or unacceptable.
Lead you to water, but I can't make you drink.
They're paying you.
Right.
They're going to leave you.
Right. Yes. So it's like eventually you have to be able to do this on your own. Like as much as I did train people for 5, 6, 7, I had clients I had for the whole time. Yeah. But my goal is like, I can't be here for you forever. Life's going to happen and work, but I need you to learn this stuff. So once you show them on paper, all this stuff, and then I use some scare tactics. I'm like, if you keep doing this, you're going to die by the time you're 50. It's going to happen. Yeah. Your kids or your spouse or whoever, they're going to lose you at a young age. Right. And that's not me just scaring you to scare you. This is a fact. Like you're going to feel like garbage and you're going to be gone by the time you're 50. Is that really what you want your life to be? Okay. So I probably go a little bit darker with people and I'm like, is this what you want? Like, this is reality. And then from there, I go little wins. So to your second point that I heard, and I get that one a lot. I don't want to go to the gym. It's intimidating. 100% agree with you. You need to have tunnel vision. It's you versus you and everything you do in life, not just in the gym. It's you versus you. We live in a society where comparison is the thief of joy. I'm always looking. Someone's got a bigger house. Someone's got a better car. Someone has a better body. Those people all started sometime when you did. Right. So I need you to lock in here. I don't care about anybody else in the gym. It's you versus you. It's you versus you, and we're going to set short-term and long-term goals. So if you come in and tell me, I want to lose 50 pounds. Nope, you don't want to lose 50 pounds. You want to lose between 1 pound and 2 pounds a week. If I see 50, that number might be 6 to 8 months out. So we're not going to lose it. You're thinking too big. You're not ready for that. You're ready for 1 to 2 pounds a week. That's all I need you to lose, because eventually you're going to lose 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. So we need to have small goals, but then we need to have a big goal. And then I tell people every year you need to have a goal that scares you in the gym. Last year, mine was a 50-mile race. For me, that's a distance I had never hit. I'd never ran more than a marathon, but it scared me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get out of my comfort zone because I'm going to learn something and I'm going to tap into the ultra world. So I signed up for 50-mile race and that's what I trained for. Yeah. So I make them do the same thing. I want you to have a goal that scares you, and then we're going to have small goals every week to chip along. So you have your big end goal, but we need to have goals every single week or else you're just going to lose track. Right. If you just say, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, you're going to go to the gym. You're going to get discouraged. Whereas if every week I'm winning, to your point, now I got built-in discipline. Well, wait a minute. I lost 1 pound 1 week. Then I lost another pound and another pound. Well, now you're going to start to get addicted to that high of accomplishment. And in exercise, I used to be a former addict, and the dopamine release in drugs, exercise can release 10 times more dopamine than that. So you start to get addicted and hooked on the feeling of exercise. So to your point of, why do I feel better? Tried the better steak. So now you have the better steak and you're like, wait a minute. I'm like, and I tell them, I'm like, give me just in a week, you're going to notice a difference. Yeah. And that was when I was training, I never let people really jump on the scale. We would test body fat, but I'm like, I just want your clothes, feel your energy, feel that stuff, because the clothes and the scale is going to fade. Right. So let's just get you in and let's just start. From then, the work will do itself. Now you do have your yo-yoers that go up and down, but once you start to feel that kick of energy where you're running with your kids, you're up in the morning, you're starting to lose some weight, clothes are fitting better. Now you're starting to build that discipline, but people try to shoot to the moon. And I used to be that way too with my clients. I'm like, why'd you lose the 50 pounds? I'm like, no, let's lose 1 pound a week. Let's make those goals small, but big at the same time. Because if I lose between 1 pound and 2 pounds a week, I'm going to lose 48 pounds in 6 months. Sure. And then it gives me something to constantly chase every day. And then we can go into the whole foods diet and all the blood tests and the supplements. But you got to just start with, I really don't even care if you change your eating. I just need you to move and be consistent at moving. Yeah. And then after about 2 to 4 weeks, okay, so we've been doing this. Now let's fix a little bit of your food, or let's get 5 days a week where you don't. So you just roll. It's a snowball effect. And I think to your point, people try to start way too big. Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't get to where I'm at in health and fitness in one day.
Well, and I have a lot of people ask me this question, like, man, how long you been working out? I'm like, Man, I joined the Marine Corps at 21. I trained for a year and a half before I joined.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's freaking 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and have I always been, you know, top disciplined and, you know, consistent? No. But what you start comes back. Like,
Right.
you know, I mean, you can fall off for 6 months or something, and then it won't take you a full 6 months to get back where you were. You know, it might take a month
take a
or
little less.
something.
My answer, so I get that asked a lot too. My answer always now is since yesterday. Because if it's always since yesterday, because I could say I've been training for 12 years, but that doesn't matter if I fall off for 6 months.
Sure.
So I'm only as good as I was yesterday. So how long have you been working out?
Answer.
Since yesterday.
Yeah.
Then if it's always since yesterday, I'm never going to fall off.
That's good.
Yes, it's my first time. This is my first time. I've been working out since yesterday because every day is new.
Yeah.
Like my goals and life's going to change. But if it's, I've been working out since yesterday. Yeah. Have I really been in it pretty much my whole life? Yeah. But if I'm going to stay completely disciplined all the time, it's since yesterday.
Yeah.
And they're like, and if I do that over and over and over again, I'm never going to notice a difference to the point where now the way I train is just second nature. Like I'm going to go in and do it because I've just done it since yesterday.
Yeah.
And
I
take rest days and I prioritize stuff like that. But it's like, if you shoot to the moon right off the bat, like when I was training for my 50-mile race, I didn't go run 50 miles the first day. I started a 16-week block and I started with 20 miles a week and then 30 and then 40 and then 50 and 60, 70, 80 and worked up to where I was running 100 miles a week. But I didn't do it day one. And that's coming from someone, and I say it's almost possible, is at an elite endurance level.
Yeah.
But we all start training blocks on a base level and build up. Our bases are just different.
Right.
So that's what I tell people is like, don't compare and shoot to the moon. Just just move and we'll work on the food. And after that, it'll all fall into place. You can set your goals if you want a 6-pack or whatever you want to do. We'll do that later. I just need to develop 12 weeks to get your habit down. Then we can move from there. But you got to be consistent for at least 12 weeks.
So I got a question for you. Now, when I go to the gym sometimes, I see the people who are in there and they obviously don't have a plan. You know, when I first see them, it may not be obvious, but you're just like, oh, cool. Yeah, getting legs today. Good for you. Like, oh, legs and buys. Nice. Like legs, buys, shoulders, and forearms. Cool. Like, and next thing you know, like, oh, this person has no idea what they came to the gym for today. How important is it for someone who's starting off to like go in there with a plan?
So if it's affordable, and because it is expensive, and I say this to be as nice as possible. If you can hire a good trainer at the beginning, do it. Like if you can afford it, go to someone who's knowledgeable. Now that's dicey in the world today because you can get an online certificate next week. Find a good trainer to teach you for 12 weeks. Invest in yourself and do it. If you can't afford that, there's a couple I'm not a big app fitness person, but there is a couple out there that can get you started. So, I mean, if we plug in, we'll plug in. There's a guy named Ryan Fisher.
Solutions. There are cheap solutions available.
The one I recommend to people, just because it is easy to follow. Full body splits, I'm a big believer, is the way to go for the everyday person. Like if you have certain physique goals, okay, we can talk about that. But I think full body splits 3 days a week is the easiest on your time constraint. It's going to burn the most body fat, and it's going to build muscle in general, full body. So there's a performance called Chalk Performance Training. They have a full body split you follow 3 days a week. It's $19.99 a month. You go on there. All right, here's my lifts. I'm going to track them. I'm in, I'm out. I think that is the best $20 you're going to spend a month. So to your point in that long answer, yes, I think it's important. Follow someone else. Put your ego away and go follow somebody else who's been doing it a long time.
And you can cancel Netflix for a month and get this if you're strapped
$20
that
is
tight,
nothing.
right?
Let not having the plan keep you from going.
I mean, again, as long as if you just move to start, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I usually point people in the direction of, hey, this is just a good app to follow. And it's $20 a month. It'll track all your progress. Have a plan. But realistically, if you're in the gym and you're lifting and moving and you're eating's on point, you're going to be fine. But I think to your point, if you compound the lifts the wrong way and you don't know all this stuff, you're not going to get the results that you want. Because a lot of people split their lifts and do a back and a bi and all this, where in all reality, your muscles can only handle so many sets a week. Once you extend those sets, nothing's happening.
Right.
So you might as well hit a full body split, feel everything, burn the most calories, and you only got to be there 3 to 4 days a week. Now you don't have an excuse with time. It's 45 minutes. So yes, going without a plan is better than not going, but have a plan. Like you have to have a plan when you go in. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results and you're going to fall off.
Yeah.
And if you can find a community too, like if you can find someone to do it with you, you're going to be a lot higher of a success rate. Going in on your own, like me, I've trained alone for a lot of years, but my discipline's at a different level. But now, over the last 6 months, I've been training with my buddy to compete in this professional endurance sports that we're doing. I've noticed I've even leveled up training with someone who's at the same level as me, and that someone's been doing forever. Now, if he misses, I'm still going, and I'm still going to push. But when I'm with him, I'm leveled up. It's a challenge. So I always tell people, if you can make it work, find someone to go on the journey with you. If you are someone who is married or in a serious relationship, make it be your significant other to a point, because if one person is out and they're on this health journey, the other one isn't, trust me, you're going to fall off. Because I used to ask people all the time in consults, do you have a significant other or spouse, whatever? Yes, I do. Are they on board with this? And if they're like, why do you ask that? I'm like, if they're not, and they're eating crap and doing all this, and this is important, you're going to have tension. They need to be on board with you. They might not have to be doing the same workouts. Go to the gym together. Do your thing. You do your thing. But you have to have the support of the person that you're with.
You know, I love challenging my discipline. I mean, that's kind of sounds weird. But so I actually would prefer personally if my family wasn't on board so that I could test myself. I'm going to tell you, I haven't had a drink in years. Also, I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic. And I will. I mean, in the beginning, like I'll tell you, this is just my mindset. Like I went to rehab in 2018. And when I got out, because I needed tools, I tried the sobriety thing for a year, fell off. And I was like, I got to nail this down. I need tools.
You need tools,
So I did. I went to rehab voluntarily. And when I got out, everybody was saying, well, you need to have AA meetings lined out. Like, don't go anywhere unless you know what AA meetings you're going to. And I was like, well, actually, I booked a trip to Cabo San Lucas straight out of here. So I flew from San Diego to Cabo with my wife and my daughter. And I was determined. Dude, I had just left my family, left my business. I'm not going back. You know? And so, I mean, for me, like, I enjoy the challenge of discipline. But not everyone is like that.
I was just going to say, my point to you and challenge you is what we talked about at the beginning. This room, other people, we're not talking, we are talking, but mostly we're talking to people who don't have that. So if you, especially, husband, wife, vice versa, wife, husband, if one person is going all the time and getting fitter and starting to look better, you tell me there's not going to be resentment at home. I'm going to call you a liar.
Well, there's going to be insecurity.
There's going to be insecurity, resentment. So that's why, yes, to your point, I'm the same way. Like, throw me in a room.
I actually thrive.
I do too.
In a situation where I have to man up.
When I do that. I tell people all the time, if my life isn't chaotic, my back's not against the wall, I'm not comfortable. I'm only comfortable when my back's against the wall. But that's me and you. That's
a Maverick mentality.
That's not, so you're trying to get people to where you're at. So how do you do that? Okay, let's put some things in place to where everyone around your family, they understand why you're doing this. Because to our point, let's say, we'll just use a husband, for example. He's like, I want to go get in shape and look good and all this stuff. And if the wife's not on board, she's going to think he's doing it for the wrong reasons. So communicating with your spouse or significant other, hey,
that's good.
This open line of communication, hey, I want to go to the gym. I want to get in shape because I want to be a better husband for you. I want to be a better father to our kids.
It's not just to take my shirt off and get
It's not
looks.
Just to take a shirt, because if you don't have that conversation, guilty of it in the past, if you don't have that conversation, they're going to perceive why you're going to the gym in the wrong way. And now you're going to not only cause tension because you want to go to the gym, now you got tensions in other relationship areas. You don't want tension. So that's why I always would tell people, hey, is your significant other, spouse, or family on board with this? Because it's going to take them to get to where you're at. How many years did that take? A lot. So if I need a guy to be, just to your point, how do we start? I'm going to start by getting everyone around me on board. And if they're not on board, I'm not going to hang around you. And
I need that. Because because I'm
need
tender
that
right
for a
now.
while.
I'm vulnerable right now.
Now you can come back into that, but it's like when I was first, I'm 2.5 years sober as well. When I was first getting over being addicted to booze and pain pills, I stayed away from the bar scenes and stuff like that for the first couple months, just because, you know, I had the, you know, the itch maybe to do it. And after a couple months, I can run and go play darts and shoot pool with my buddies if they're bars, and I don't even think about drinking.
No
I
big deal.
could care less. Like,
It's not even a
it's
thing.
not even a thought. But at the beginning,
that takes
but
time.
at the beginning, it took me time. 'Cause it's like, as you know, as someone who has been an addict, like when you walk in a room and you see and smell booze and you remember how that numbing feeling that you had to push out the other problems out the world, that comes back. Now I'm like, oh, I'm so strong in my faith and where I'm at. This doesn't even bother me.
Well, it's not even a desire, right?
I don't even care about it, but I didn't do that right
But
away.
you had to build that
I had
into
to
your
build
thinking.
it. So if I take a guy out of the woodwork and throw him into the fire, he's going to fail.
Yeah. I remember like getting sober. It wasn't that I couldn't go do that. Like I was going to drink if I went to a bar, but I was going to be miserable. I could go do it 100%.
But you'd be miserable.
I was going to be miserable. I would decide at the beginning before I ever went in there, because I didn't have the frame of reference of you could go to a place where alcohol is and not consume and enjoy yourself. You know, because
you have to redeem everything.
But at that point, I hadn't been golfing sober. I didn't go to barbecues sober. And so all of these things that as an adult I'd never done sober, now I have to like retrain my mind.
What it's going to look like.
I was just talking to Jamie about that yesterday. I said, I feel like, you know, over the years of sobriety, I've redeemed everything. You know, I've practiced like, oh, I can do this and have fun without alcohol. And then it was the next thing and then the next thing, you know.
I remember my first barbecue sober was miserable. My first golf time I went golfing sober was miserable. But, you know, that was just me.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you start to prioritize your health and wellness and you start to see, all right, I'm not hungover on the weekends. I'm not, you know, because I tell people all the time, like when they're like, what's your outlook on booze? And I'm like, for me personally, I don't do it, but it's because I have addictive past. Like if you can enjoy a beer, some wine, like I'm completely fine with that. But the point of that is if you're going to do that, you got to remember, it's not even like, oh, you know, you're a Christian, so you look at alcohol. No, alcohol is poison. So if you're on a health and wellness journey and you put alcohol into your body, the next 24 to 36 hours, your body is going to spend all its energy getting rid of the poison. So now everything I eat, everything I drink is just going to stick. So from a health and wellness standpoint, is that 1, 2, 3 glasses of wine more important than your health and wellness journey? Like once a month, sure. But if it's, well, oh, I only do it once or twice a week. Well, now you're coming to me and you're wondering why you're not getting in shape. Well, your body's trying to push out poison 2 of the 7 days a week. So you're wondering why you're not, like, people don't understand it. The alcohol and all that isn't like a negative society effect. It's like, hey, from a health and wellness standpoint, mechanically in your body, your brain identifies it as poison. So its first response is, I got to get poison out of my body. So everything you eat or drink, I'm not worried about. That's going to sit in there. I got to push all this poison out of my body. Before you know it, you've gained 10 or 15 pounds and you don't know why. Well, that's the methodology behind alcohol is, hey, it's poison. So your body just ignores everything else. That's why you start to gain weight. That's why you get the beer belly, because your body's quit fighting to get all the carbs and proteins and sugars to where they need to be. It's only focused on the booze. So just from a health and wellness standpoint, I tell people, take all the other stuff away. Is that worth you sacrificing your health and wellness journey? If you have one drink a month or something, but it's like 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 1 day becomes 2 days, you might not have a problem, but you do make it part of your lifestyle. And that's going to get in the way. If you come to me and say you want to lose 50 pounds, but you're drinking 2 days a week, now we're counteracting what our goals are. So I tell people, there's plenty of ways to get, you know, they have the non-alcoholic carbonated stuff to where you can maybe get the feel and you're out doing stuff without the negative effect of having poison in your body. Because that's what it is. It's just poison that goes in. So that's my outlook from a health and fitness standpoint is like, hey, how important are your goals to you? Okay, so you're not going to drink when you're out golfing, but I'm sure you, to your point, once I started doing everything sober, I enjoy it so much more now. I'm so clear-headed. Like everything I get to do now, I have so much more fun with it. And I don't have the hangover the next day. So, but yeah, that's my outlook. Kind of that long answer is you have to start somewhere and then we'll build on those goals. Like you have to start somewhere and build on those goals. But I always tell people, even if you're not a runner, unless you have some kind of injury that bars you from like running a lot, I tell people your first goal is you're going to run a 5K race. Because my personal opinion is everyone should be able to go at least move through a 5K. I don't care if it takes you an hour. If you can't move 3 miles in one sitting, there's a problem. So that's your first goal. We're going to do all this, and your first scary goal is, I don't care if you hate running good, you're going to do something you don't like and get a sense of satisfaction. You're going to sign up for a 5K. If I got to do it with you, I'll do it with you. And then they just do that race. I don't care if you never do another one in your life. At least now you've set a standard. Oh, well, I can at least run 3 miles. Now themselves, they're going to see that and they're going to want to reach for more every single time. So when I grew up, I always, at the time, thought it was a burden. I'm like, every time I would do something, whether I learned to water ski when I was 3 and swim and do all this stuff, but every time I would do something, my mom and my grandpa would be like, that's great, celebrate. What are you going to do next? And it used to drive me nuts as a kid. I'm like, is this ever good enough for you guys? Like in the back of my mind. Now, fast forward to 37 now, I realize they Mr. Miyagi me my whole life because now they set me up for success as, hey, if you do something, celebrate it and set a new goal so you never become complacent. And I'm like, wow, what a great lesson to learn at a young age. And so to your question too of how young do you start disciplining people in health and wellness, I think there's levels to it. So like my son and daughter are 4 and 6. So my son's 4, he's loved sports since he was 2. So like as far as physical fitness is, you get these parents who are now living through their kids and in my opinion, starting them too serious too early. Just keep them moving. Like my kids don't have tablets. We go to playgrounds, we play. Okay, your health and wellness journey has already started. Whether you know it or not. Just in play. Yeah. So like, based on you doing that, like there's not even a question of when do I start my kid on a fitness or health and wellness journey? Well, when they're born. Yeah. When you start and you play with them now, it's to the point where literally we were at Brahms last night enjoying, every Wednesday we go to Brahms after we go swimming. And there was a girl and her dad next to us. And my daughter goes, Dad, that girl shouldn't be on her tablet. She should be talking to her dad. I'm like, boom. You're already in there. You know the principles. Like we don't have tablets. We play and run around and do all this stuff. Your health and wellness journey has already started. The foods that you cook for your kids, they're going to crave those as life goes on. Right. My daughter, for the most part, except every once in a while, I pack her lunch. She eats salmon. She eats stuff. And it's not like you can't have any sugar. She likes ice cream. She eats popsicles. I let her do that stuff, but there's balance. So now she, in her mind, without her even knowing it, the rest of her life, she knows what's going to be good to eat. She knows it's going to be good to move. She's not going to be sitting in front of tablets. Right. We play. So I've already started them at a young age without them even knowing it. I don't even have to put them on a fitness plan. As my son grows up, he loves sports. Perfect. We're going to play sports. Now, when you get to probably, I argue 10 to 12 and you want to start focusing in on a certain type of sport, okay, now we can talk about regimens, but up until then, just let them be a kid. Right. Like when we were kids, you're outside, you play, there's no tablets, like ran around, we're at the pool riding bikes. That's why the obesity rate has gone up so much. It's not because of, I mean, yeah, there's some food and some other stuff. It's because people got lazy. Kids, if you just play with them, they're not going to know any different. So you have to start them at a young age. So that's why if I ever see overweight kids, I'm not mad at the kids. I'm pissed at the parents because you did that to them. They didn't do that to themselves. You did that to them. It's your fault. You need to get in your life in order so your kids don't have to follow the same things you did. So that discipline starts just at a young age, but it's not even discipline. Like we run around, we go to the trampoline park for 3 hours and play dodgeball, go to the park. They're having fun.
Yeah, it's being creative and
that's in a
making
world
it not suck.
It's not like, oh, you know what? I don't want to parent. Here, take this. Yeah. And it's like, that's so lazy. Like, I get it. It's easy. Now, if we're like on long flights or car rides, sure, you guys can have a tablet, watch some movies. But if we're at home, even in the wintertime in Oklahoma, we're going to find fun stuff to do. Like that's what it's about. But it all goes back to that pillar. Because my fitness prioritized, I can run around with them all day. Right. I can do whatever we need to do because I'm in shape and physically fit enough to do that. So now the discipline's there.
So we talk a lot about freedom in here. And most everything we do is in regard to achieving freedom. Okay. Like in multiple facets, right? Right. I mean, you can define freedom however you'd like. I mean, there's emotional freedom, there's freedom from addiction, there's freedom from anger issues, there's freedom in finances, there's freedom in time, there's freedom to be open and intimate in relationships. There's there's time, resources, relationships, and health. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
But to your specialty, I guess, how does health and wellness affect your ability to have free time, or does it?
Oh, I think it opens up a lot of free time in a sense of
maximize time.
I think that's probably
which then
a
creates
better word
the free
is
time.
Maximizing your time.
Well, that creates free time.
Creates free time. So, but here's the struggle and the reason people don't achieve, I think, freedom is they're not willing to do the hard stuff to get to the freedom.
Right. But in regards to time,
right.
If you're working out and exercising and eating properly, you have elevated energy levels.
Yep. You don't need as much sleep.
Right.
Like that's the other thing is people I get, and we could go hours and I can debate you on sleep. I sleep about 5 to 6 hours a night.
Right.
But my sleep quality is the difference.
Because
so like,
you're
if I'm
exhausting yourself during the day.
Or I'm in REM sleep is two different things.
Right.
You only need 2 to 3 hours of REM sleep to function. I mean, even in the military, they sleep deprive you.
Yeah.
On purpose, but you get to a point where I only need so many hours of deep sleep and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Like I tell people like, oh, you probably go to bed at 9 and get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I'm like, I went to bed at 1 a.m. and got up at 6.
Yeah.
I was just doing things, after my kids go to bed, I do some work, I do whatever. It might be 1 a.m. Perfect. I'm passed out, but I wake up, I hydrate myself in the morning. I get them ready. I prioritize my health and wellness. So I don't need to be tired all day. I'm going to be on all day. So if I maximize my health and performance, I'm not going to be tired. Like that midday, I need a nap at 2 p.m.
So then you're not wasting 2 or 3 hours of non-productivity.
The whole time. So now
so you get your work done a lot faster.
Right? Work gets done faster, but you're also, the word I like to use, you're intentional with your time. So there's a difference between having a lot of time, but being intentional with your time. So if you're intentional with your work time, we can get stuff done in 2 to 3 hours. It's going to take people 7 hours.
Right.
Well, now I have more time.
Right.
And if I have, if I take time with my spouse or significant other and I spend intentional time with you, my relationship's going to thrive to where.
So that was my next question is how does it affect your relationships?
Your relationships. Now, again, that was why I said fitness was second over family. Prioritize, not in place of. Because I was guilty of back in the day, 3-4 hours of fitness.
So family doesn't affect your fitness. Fitness should affect your family.
That's why I said, okay, but now that discipline's going to come in. If I have my kids have 2-3 games, I got to run them all over the place. Well, that means I got to work out at this time.
You got to get up before they do.
Maximizing your time. I got to get before them to maximize my time. Because if it starts to be in place of it, now everything's going to go out of place. It's going to be a domino effect. If I didn't wake up and I missed that workout, now I have less energy. Now I'm not intentional with the games because I'm tired and I need caffeine. I'm irritated with my spouse because I don't have as much energy and all I want to do is be at the gym and I'm mad. Again, it's already spiraled out. Whereas if I am disciplined enough, I'll have freedom in every other area of my life.
There you go.
So if you maximize your time, like I said, I don't need 8 hours to do something I can do in 1 or 2.
Right.
But that's the thing is like you have to get to a point in your life where that's why I personally, and I know it's not everyone, that's why I sign up and compete in high level endurance
because
athletics.
It keeps you accountable.
It's not for the accolades. I could care less if I get sponsorships and win championships. I'm there to glorify God whenever he needs from me anyways. It's the feeling that it brings me of, okay, I'm going to go, me and my buddy are 2 dudes from Oklahoma, and we're going to go try to beat everybody else in the world. And we're going to be 2 to 3 days a week. The workouts we do, you're at 80 to 90% heart rate for an hour. I don't do it for fun. I hate it. Like personally, it's not like I would, like today, I'm like, I got an hour before I come see you guys and I'm going to have to warm up and go from 0 to 100 and then cool down and come back in here. Me personally, I'm not looking forward to it. but I am looking forward to what it's going to bring me long term. Because if I can go to the gym and do that to myself when no one's forcing me, no one's watching me, what am I going to do now for my kids, for my business, all this stuff? If I'm willing to be uncomfortable for an hour a day, 6 days a week, the rest of my life's going to be a breeze.
Right.
Because people are like, I don't understand how you, I'm like, come work out with me one day and I'll show you how I handle all this other stress.
80 to 90% heart rate is not uncomfortable. Just so everybody's clear, that is miserable.
It's miserable. Yeah, I mean, it is. Like, I tell people, because I always told people and I joked around, I'm like, if you want me to find out what the person you're dating or a boss or a coworker or someone you're going to hire is made out of, have them come see me for a half hour. I'll tell you everything you need to know about them. If they come and suffer through it, I know they have more in them to do whatever you want them to do than anybody else. If they quit and give up, I know everything I need to know about you because I don't have to be there for an hour doing that. I can leave whenever I want and those days you would think are the hardest days. The hardening days for me are actually the opposite days. I have 2 days a week where I literally all I do for 90 minutes, and these are the only days that go over an hour, and I do it because I got to build base for what I'm competing in. I run a mile and I ski a mile for an hour and a half straight. And that's all I do. You talk about mind numbing, like all I want to do is leave.
Yeah.
But if I can do that twice a week, now if I go home and my kids are running all over the place. I get them here, there, business, this, that. That's a piece of cake. I went and skied and ran for an hour and a half. I can do that. Everything else in my day is going to be a cakewalk. So
That with I would run a mile, row a K.
And that's it. Yeah.
For however long.
And it's mind numbing, but it's disciplining you. Because if I can do these things, the rest of my life's going to be easy. So that I like to get uncomfortable because then the rest of my life, I'm not uncomfortable anymore. Like I go out with people, my kids are running here and there and I'm changing, I'm doing this. Like, how do you stay so calm? Like, cause what I do in the gym, like this is a breeze compared to what I do 5-6 days a week. So that uncomfortability starts to harden your mind. And with that, now you have a mindset in the rest of your world with the relationship. It's going to take work. It's going to be hard. Your business is going to be hard. It's going to take work. But if you're willing to go prioritize health and fitness and get in the gym and do hard stuff that you don't have to do, the rest of the life's a breeze.
I'm happy that you're mentioning that and how uncomfortable the situations that you put yourself in, like you intentionally put yourself in those situations. So not just about the physical aspect, but tonight that you're also going to teach us about the mindset. How can someone look forward to what's going to happen in a year and in 2 years, not how miserable they feel right now? Because I think for me it was, I believe easier because I didn't know at the time, but I was blessed to grow playing sports, and having my parents and running around and having family around me. But not everyone has that luxury. Not everyone has that gift. So since I was young, I've always been in shape. I don't know what being out of shape is. But so that's in my psyche. But for other people and you that are in that space, what's an easy way for them to, or maybe not an easy way, but a way for them to change their mindset and look for how it's gonna benefit their life, to see it without it, the feeling of being impossible. When they look at Chad, when they look at you, what Lane did, no, like he's a strong guy, like he's 20 years in the Marine, and not just that, like I go to the gym with him and I'm like, my biceps are burning. What are you doing, old guy? So there's a lot of that whenever I tell someone, it's like at this point in my life, I don't have to go 2 hours to the gym.
No.
I go 45 minutes and I stay in shape, I enjoy it, and I look nice and I function great. But that has 20 years in the back that I didn't even see as work.
Right. Everyday life.
So for people that want to start that journey, what's step one? Because sometimes I want to take people on the journey that I'm at. And those 45 minutes that for me are maybe not a cakewalk, but simple and easy. Yeah. For other people are like, dude, what are you doing, dude?
It's the first thing that's going to go. Well, my easiest answer to that, and you can call it cliche or whatever, I told you number one pillar is faith. If you fill yourself up with your goals and whatever accolades you're going to have on this world, you're going to be empty. My faith and everything that happens in life, I'm full because I have Christ leading the way. So the rest of my day is, my cup's already full because I have Christ. He died on the cross for my sins. And I tell people, I'll never push anything on you, but I can tell you from my personal experience,
that's the solution.
That's the solution. And it's like, that's what I always smile because people are like, why are you smiling? You get to ask that question. I'm like, it's going to be a cliche answer, but it's Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, to that point, that seems so easy. So it's like, well, what does that look? I don't even know where to begin. Perfect. I gave you the solution. Now let's build a community. Get into a men's group. Get into a Bible study. Start sharpening that tool, because if your cup is full in Christ, the rest of your life is complete. I've won world championships, national championships, you name it. I didn't have Christ. I go back to my hotel room. I am empty. So to your point, if I'm filling my cup up with stuff I can't see, I'm always going to have emptiness. I'm never going to be full. I wake up every morning. I thank God for everything I have. The rest of my day is just a bonus. So that is the easy answer for me. And I know that a lot of people will battle and go back and forth. There isn't like a crazy 10-minute pump up speech. It's my cup's full in Christ.
I like that one. Do you think that that's all of your why? I know that maybe that's something that we can hold on to. You know, we in this room, we have the same why, and God has led us our whole life, you know. Yet a lot of people, maybe if they hold on to their why, for you it's also your kids, your family, and how you're able to be the best for your business and for your kids. And I know for Chad is the same. He's like, I need to go and work out at this time in the morning so that I can come home and take Kinley to school, you know. I can come home and take care of the wife. So
I think the fruits of your labor is your answer. So I tell people, okay, so give me a month. Let's set a goal. And I used to tell people, train with me for a month, or you stay consistent for a month. If you don't think your life has gotten better in any aspects, I'll give you all your money back. So I just tell people it's the fruits of your labor. So all right, let's start. Let's start moving, and let's see how your business goes. Let's see how your family goes. Let's see how you do with your kids. All of a sudden, they're going to see little wins and fruits of your labor. So I tell people, that's why I said that, celebrating along the way and setting the next goal. That's what I do with my clients and with community. We want to celebrate little wins. Like if I have someone come in and they're like, man, I put on a pair of pants I haven't worn in a year. Perfect. Write it down. So the long answer to your question is reflection. So if you aren't reflecting daily on where God's brought you, what you've done, all your hard work, why would you keep being motivated? And some people, all these tough-minded guys, like, why don't sit around and talk about everything I've done? It's like, well, why not? If I don't reflect that I was homeless 3 years ago, every time I walk into my apartment, my gratitude's going to be gone. So I am constantly reflecting and looking around, and I'm accountable for where I'm at and what got me there. So to your point, if I see a fruits of my labor, so I'm 3 years since being homeless. So just 3 years ago, I'm homeless. So I think to myself, man, I might be in a smaller apartment right now, but if he put me from homeless to his apartment, where am I going to be 3 years from now and 3 years from then? So to answer your question is, I tell people you need to reflect every morning when you wake up, where you're at, journal it, because then you can go back a year ago and I can mean, man, whatever today is, January 16th, 2024, 2025 now, January 2024, this is what I was writing down, and look where I'm at now. So if you're not jotting down and taking notes of your journey, how are you going to know where you started? You're not going to know where you're going if you don't know where you came from. Yeah. So I tell people reflection is what keeps me going. Because to your point, even as disciplined, as motivated as I am, like, I'm lazy at core. Like, I don't want to go.
That's why you're choosing discipline.
That's why I'm choosing discipline, is because at my core.
Because if you don't, you'll dissolve into a marshmallow.
The other thing is, too, is like, I'm a single dad with 2 kiddos. I'm competing against people who this is their full-time job, is to do this sport, only this sport. And so, like, for me to make time and compete against them, I have to go to whole new levels. After a while, I get tired of it. I'm like, you freaking 21-year-olds have nothing to do. You come in my shoes for a day, you won't even be a top 100.
This is my side piece.
This is a side piece. But it's like, trust me, there's days where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I could go to the gym. I'm disciplined enough. I'm just going to be, I could be in a phenomenally good shape and be jacked, and I don't have to do all this other stuff.
Right.
But the reflection of where I've came from, where I started, got in a car accident in 2019, had to relearn how to walk. So from 2019, now it's 2025. I have constant reflection and built-in discipline because 5 years ago, almost 5.5 years ago, I couldn't walk. So now I'm running sub 5-minute miles, but 5 years ago, I couldn't walk. I journal it. I reflect. So reflection is the long answer to your question. Reflect every little detail. Woke up today and didn't have to take a nap at 2 p.m. Win. Next day, ran with my kids for 30 minutes. Couldn't do it. Win. Celebrate the wins. Be proud of yourself.
Not just that I was not using it for this, but I do just in a different way. What doesn't get measured doesn't get improved.
Amen.
You know, so in different aspects of life, I just do it on certain aspects, and I do it unconsciously on other aspects. But like, that's the truth. You need to be grateful, because I want you to expand on that. I remember you told me about it, that the doctor said that you were not gonna
Run again.
right.
Yeah. So I have, still do. Like, that's the thing is, like, yes, God has provided me with a lot of healing, but the piece that people, I think, leave out when it comes to that is like, oh, God is good. And it's like, well, I didn't wake up one day, eat Cheetos for the last 5 years, and now I can compete at a world-class level. He gave me the opportunity to come back from the injury, but I have to put in the work day in and day out. So I have nerve damage. It's called your piriformis and your TFL. So basically what happened was the nerve signals for all my left side. Like, if you guys go to squat, your brain shoots a signal to your nerve to stand up. Mine was gone. So I could sit in my squat, and on my right side, I knew to push up. My left side just wouldn't do anything. So I knew what I wanted to do, just physically couldn't get my body to do it. So the doctors said, they're like, well, you would have been better off just shattering your hip and getting it repaired, because we can repair it and you come back. Nerves don't come back.
Right.
So like, you're never going to run more than a mile at a time again. And I go, well, why is that? They're like, well, if you constantly keep running or working out, eventually your hip's just going to fall out of place because you have nothing signaling your muscles to stabilize your hip. I'm like, so what's that mean? They're like, well, it means you're done. Like, can't compete anymore. Probably lift some weights, but like, you're never going to run more than a mile again because your hip's literally just going to pop out of place every time you try to run. And that's what led to a lot of the addiction and pain pills. I was feeling sorry for myself. You took away, I told people, I realized the only thing that was keeping me from being a full-blown addict was exercise.
Okay.
And so when that got taken away, that was it. So I spent, I tell people all the time, I spent a year feeling sorry for myself and drinking and boozing everything under the sun because I had accepted what someone told me and forgot all the discipline that was put in me, to a point where after about a year, I was doing physical therapy 3 times a week, no improvements. It's funny because a video popped up today and I watched myself run for the first time, like 3 years after the accident. My left leg still just dragging behind, like nothing was there. So I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to stop feeling sorry for myself. I'm going to start putting in some work. I'm going to start at least going to the gym and trying to run every day, even though I'm not supposed to right now. And then over time, I'm just going to trust that it gets better. And so I went in after 2 years of physical therapy, 3 days a week, and it took me 11 and a half minutes to run 1 mile. Before that, I could run a sub 5-minute mile without even warming up. And I remember leaving the gym. I went home, I threw my bag in the entryway because my mom was watching my kids during COVID time. And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm done. You go, there's no way I'm coming back from this. I'm like, I've never ran this slow in my life. So to your point, when people say, well, people like you don't know what it's like to be down here. I do. I went all the way from peak athletic to zero. But it was the biggest blessing because now I got to start where everyone else got to start. Because to your point, I played sports. I did everything. So I now get to start at zero and work my way back to the top. So now I can help other people do that.
What I was going to say, I think that's why you're a great teacher and coach, because you're like, okay, it's not just that I was this way all the time. There was a moment where I was at zero and I had to go what you're going through. And this is what helped me, that it's my why. I put this in place. If I didn't, you can put it in.
And that's why I tell people, like, do you regret the accident, the booze, the loss of your marriage? I'm like, no. Because if I didn't have that, I would never learn and had all the knowledge that I have now to help people from zero. That's why I always said like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
It gave you the empathy and
it
the
gave
mercy.
me the empathy. I
Yeah.
wasn't in the
And the
humility.
understanding.
And I didn't know. And I'm like, okay. So then I remember sitting there. I'm like, okay, this is going to start over. And I didn't have Christ in my life at the time. So at the beginning, I was just building up. And then when I combined with him, I'm like, holy smokes, I can take a God who can move mountains and set part seas, and maybe he can work through me if I'm willing to get up and go through the pain and put in the work. Because people think they're like, oh, well, you just trained and God healed you. It's like, no, my first couple competitions back, my hip went out and I competed a full high rocks on one leg. I did that multiple times and I got done. And my mom, I'm in tears because I think I let my mom down or whoever's coming to watch me. But as soon as I wipe them away, she's like, and she knows like, mom is my rock. And she's like, what are you going to do next? I'm like, I'm going to go back and train. I'm going to win this whole dang thing someday. And she's like, all right. But that she's been the one who's never told me no. No idea is too crazy. I have that sports system. That's a blessing because she wasn't like, ooh, I don't know. I mean, there was times where she was walking off the competition floor. My mom is a tough person, crying because she saw how much pain I was in, but knew I wasn't going to stop. But she knew it was good for me too. She's like, there was times I couldn't watch you because I saw how much pain you're in. I knew you're going to be okay. I knew this was part of the journey, but just as your mom, it was crushing me. But the cool part is, and she's, my mom is a huge inspiration to me. She's like, then you came back and you did everything you said you're going to do. Like I finished close to last place, multiple first times in high rocks, did all this stuff, kept coming back, kept training. I just refused to go down because the other piece of the why is, how am I going to tell my kids they can never quit if I quit? So I'm like, well, I'm going to use this as a testimony. I'm going to start from zero. So it's been 5 years now. So after a year, I spent 3.5 years PT. All of a sudden I started to get some healing in my hip. I never was going to get full control back on my hip and back, but I'm like, I'm just going to make my 80% better than everyone else's 100. So I don't have 20% nerve control still to the day. But I'm like, well, I'm going to make my 80 better than everyone else 100. I'm going to keep showing up and keep showing up. And there was days where it felt like I had a knife in my hip running 5, 6, 7 miles at a time. Like, nope, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to keep going. Over time, this past year, especially because it's like I just kept grinding and I kept grinding. I did that 50-mile race. I knew I had to do that 50-mile race, but I didn't know why. My God's going to put me through this, and I don't know why. I realized that my capability for pain and endurance and perseverance was way higher than I ever shot for. Like, I'm thinking I'm tough. I'm running for 8 to 9 hours straight on a hip that doesn't work, and I'm still going. Like the fact that, I told my mom, I don't remember the last 3 hours of the race. I just remember kind of coming to and we're at the finish line. And I was like, holy smokes, because I went uncomfortable and did this race, I now know where my pain tolerance is, where I can go. And now that's my new limit. So I just kept leveling up. But to your point, once I got done with the race, my constant reflection was, dude, you couldn't even run a mile 3 years ago and you just ran 50. So now what? But see, then that starts to get you motivated again. So I tell people a long answer to your question is, if you start seeing the fruits of your labor over and over and over and over again, now I'm going to get addicted to that feeling. Instead of the booze and the food, I'm going to get addicted to, man, what can God do with me next? What can he do with me next? To the point of, like I shared with you guys before we started, we ran the Dallas High Rocks race and 400 teams. It was the largest High Rocks event in history, 6,000 people, and we got first. And we ran in 54 minutes, which is an equivalent mile pace of about 5:15 over 8,000 meters in 8 workouts. And what's cool is my buddy that I do with my competition partner, he has the same injury I do. We were both never supposed to run and walk again, ever again. And we held that pace for an hour straight and constantly do it. So that's been my driving force is, okay, you told me I was at zero. I'm going to fight my way back so then I can go tell other people you can do it too. Cause I'm no different than anybody else. Like I tell people, do I have some athletic abilities that God blessed me with? Absolutely. But outside of that, I'm not different than anybody else sitting in rooms. Like when I'm standing up giving speeches, I'm like, guys, I'm not better than you. I'm not standing up here because I'm better than you. The only reason that I'm up here talking to you is because God gave me an opportunity to build my testimony and share it with you guys in hopes that you can do the same. You don't want to be like me. You want to be like him.
I love that. And I'm actually going to go to chat with this next question. I think sometimes the Bible and the work that has been put in are two different things, and we just live by verses and we don't put in the work. And I know that you're big into like putting in the work while still having the trust, you know.
So I think almost I think humility is what the example of Christ is. I think it's death to self. And I find, and I have found in my journey, that the more, since we're talking about physical fitness, I have found that the more physical discipline I have, the more my flesh submits. And in turn, that is humility. When your flesh is submissive to your spirit, your flesh is pride. Your flesh is egotistical. Your flesh wants to do its will. And the spirit has to have dominion over the flesh. And it's humbling yourself so that the spirit can be in control. Mm-hmm. And I have found that physical training is the best way to make that happen. I think that you can either wait around for humility to be served to you, or you can seek it, you know? Amen. And so for me, I've been humbled. Oh my gosh, more times than anyone can count. I have scars all over my body from rebellion and from God disciplining me as a good father should, and bringing me back in line. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to experience that anymore, you know? Because I am a child of God, I know that he will guide me. I know, and I can have faith that he will discipline me when I require it, which the discipline in turn generates humility. And that's where freedom actually comes from. It comes from humility. But putting that into practice daily, it's why I cold plunge. It's why I get up at 4:30. It's why I eat a very strict diet. It's why I do what I do, because I am proactively taking steps to make myself, my flesh, submit so that I don't have to live the hard life anymore of discipline and correction from God. I discipline myself so that he does not have to. Okay? Like if you're a child in your parents' household and you have the mental strength and fortitude to say, you know, my dad told me to take out the trash. I'm not going to go play Nintendo. Oh, that's old school. I'm not going to go play Roblox.
I like it. Yeah.
I'm going to instead take out the trash because I know that's the right thing to do. That's discipline, right? That's coming against the desires of the flesh. The desires of the flesh is to play on his iPad, right? Discipline says I'm going to do what's right, not what feels good, right? Amen. And that is forcing your desires of your flesh to submit to what's right, not allowing yourself to do what feels good. And this is in everything. I mean, if I have a calendar on my schedule, I don't care how I feel. Like how I feel does not matter because that's my flesh. And I'm going to do what I have committed to do and set out to do. Why? Because I know that the journey by honoring my commitments requires discipline, right? And I know the more disciplined life that I live, the more freedom I will have through humility.
I actually want you to continue. I remember when we started talking months ago, you used to tell me like if you're not able to do things for yourself, you're always gonna have someone else on top of you, right? Like that is why so many people.
Well, that's why God gave us kings. We are supposed to be direct link to Jesus Christ. He is supposed to be our high priest. He is. He is. He is. But people want rulers. Why? Why? That maybe doesn't make sense. They're like, no, I don't. Dude, if you took full personal responsibility for your life, you wouldn't need a ruler to keep you in line, to keep things moving in society. You would be a free man. So to me, if you want to be a free man, woman, you're going to seek out the personal responsibility, which then will require you to have the discipline. Because once you accept something as a reality, like, oh man, I keep doing this against my better judgment, against my will. Now I have to come against that will, against that desire through discipline. It's all connected, which then leads to the humility, which then leads to the freedom. So we have leaders, we have rulers, we have people that lord over us because we actually require it. And I mean that. I mean, you don't. There's certain people that don't need it.
Yeah, just need one.
But if you live in a society of where 98% need it and you're 2% that don't need it, guess what? You still live under those same rules and conditions that the 98 do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. If you live in a household with 5 siblings and, everybody has to do the same thing. Everybody has to play by the same rules of the household,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very similar thing. So, in that regard, we require leadership. And when we seek it, and we don't have to, we can get leadership straight from the source. We can get it straight from God. Now, he will use others in our lives to edify some things that he's maybe impressing on our hearts, or to present something that we weren't willing yet to see or did not yet understand. Mm-hmm. That's why community is important.
Amen.
But that community is not lording over. No. That's a peer saying, hey, man, I see that you're doing this and that's going to hold you back. Oh, I had no idea. I didn't even see that. Right. So peers and fellowship is important. But as far as having a ruler, you don't have to. You don't have to. But you've got to be full on responsible for every single thing you do. And the only way a person can do that is through discipline. There's no other way that a person can take full responsibility for their life and actually improve unless they inject discipline.
I like one thing I want to expand on what you said. That's why I love what you guys are doing with Maverick, is because you hit on the head. It's community.
Yeah.
When I want to level up and be the best person that God needed me to be, and I saw where he's going, I left a lot of people behind. Not in a mean way, because I always tell people my favorite thing that I've heard.
Where you were going.
Yeah. I'm like, I tell people all the time, is my favorite thing I've heard. One of my favorite things I heard is, I want everyone to eat, but not everyone's going to eat at my table. So I want a strong sense of community who's going to hold me accountable. I think whether it's fitness, business, even faith, you have to have accountability. I have a couple guys that I go to every single day, and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is where I'm dealing with. Just need some community, need some help. I need someone to call me out on my BS all the time. And that's why I tell people, because people say, what do you think? And obviously, I tell them faith, like, okay, from a worldly standpoint, because God does put people in your life to keep you on track here too. I go, the reason I am the way I am is because I changed my circle. I wanted to be with guys who had the same mindset as me. They supported where I was going, not bringing me down. If I tell someone I'm going to win a world championship, I want to be like, perfect, how are we going to do it? And that was the difference. As I tell people, to answer your question too, change the people you spend your time with, and you'll watch yourself change. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I want to be with guys who are, if I'm bringing one thing to the table with fitness and all this and business and discipline, and, we all have our talents. Well, instead of let's try to figure out everything to get on our own, let's come together as a group and be super strong.
Super
three strands is not easily broken. You can't do everything by yourself. So don't try to. Go be around guys who are going to lift you up and make you stronger. Yeah. I'm really good in health and wellness and fitness and discipline, but I have buddies who have helped me with my finances lately. That's some place where, going through a divorce, I did it to myself. I had to start back over from zero. I'm like, okay, I want to make different moves, but I don't want to go back to school and be a financial guru. I got buddies who are the head of finance for Google. Why wouldn't I go talk to them? I'm going to use my community. So it goes all back to what I say all that because the word that you used, I think, is the number one most important thing in discipline. You have to have humility. Yeah. Hey, I don't know all the answers. I don't know. Sometimes the answer is, well, I don't know, but I probably know someone who does. Yeah. I'm not going to act like I do. I know a lot about health and fitness, but there's some certain things where people come to me with mobility. I got this. What do you think it is? I'm like, hey, I can guess all day, but I got a guy who helped me come back to run from zero. Here's his number. Go see him, because I'm not going to. I don't know the answer. Yeah. So I know for you guys, with everything you're doing here, which I love, you have a community of guys who do all sorts of different stuff. Mm-hmm. If they can't find it in here, there's a problem because it's in here somewhere. You're just not asking the right questions. So to your point, accountability and humility, you're not going to go anywhere in life if you don't have those two things. Discipline's not going to come if you don't have those two things. So I have people that hold me accountable. I had to learn humility from the accident. Like, I would have never had it if I didn't have that. People are like, well, how did you find humility? I'm like, it didn't. It found me.
Yeah.
I wake up and I'm naturally an egotistical guy.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Selfish.
It will find you.
Oh, it'll find me.
But you can also seek it out on your own.
So now what I do is, again, I've identified, okay, this is the person I know God wants me to be. So if I interact with individuals or people like, hey, you should come out and do this, this, and this. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I really appreciate the invite. And it's nothing to you guys. This just doesn't line up with where I'm going.
Yeah.
Whereas like where you guys invited me on a podcast and to speak, I'm like, done. I messaged you back. I'm like, like, I know the things that God wants me to do and things that is going to seek out for my own flesh. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that, but it's not going to level me up. So once I have the humility and take myself out of the equation, now I'm going to grow. Now I'm going to have discipline. But if I don't have humility and accountability, discipline's not going to be there.
Yeah.
So I loved what you said about you have to have accountability and humility these days, because I used to just think I could do everything on my own.
Right.
And I can't.
I've been there, and I didn't know how important being surrounded by the right people is. You're good. No, you're okay. I didn't know how important it was to have people that are trying to achieve the same goal as you, you know. And a lot of the things that you're saying, Lane touched on the class. You know, like, I don't know, but in this room, probably someone knows how to do it or knows someone.
Yeah.
That you know.
Yeah.
So having a group like this is really, really important. And I wanted for Lane to. Do we still have time? How are we doing on time? No, like with you. I checked the cameras. We're good.
I don't know what time it is.
It's 10:54.
Maybe
Wrap it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would love for you to actually close. And there's like a lot of things that you have done in your 20 years in the military that had to do with discipline, with mindset, and with physical training that we don't even have an idea of how to achieve it, and how you were able to stay in. You told me that being in the Marines, it's like every 4 years, it's like 1 year on the NFL just on your body. And so I would love for you to close on that and tell us how physical training and that mindset can help us transform our lives.
Absolutely. So I mean, in the military, and especially in the Marine Corps, like, physical fitness it's it.
40% of your.
Yeah. And the difference, I guess, the thing that made it easy to do the hard things was oftentimes the reason you're doing it, you know, because that accountability in that community is built in, and it's a group of dudes most of the time that are competitive against each other and willing to push each other and have a common goal of, like, we're not going to combat and me getting tired, you know. That's not an option. I can't go to combat and then have to take a break because I didn't work on my conditioning before I came. But that common goal of, like, I am here to be in the best shape possible so that if I have to carry you, I can do it. And you're here for the exact same reason. And so we did a lot of things that were physically tough. I think they were more mentally toughening. We did, lots of dumb shit. Like, why are we climbing that mountain? No other reason than it is hard, you know? That is the only reason.
You feel once you got to the top.
Like the king of the world,
100%.
you know? And as forward observers, that's what we did. The infantry's down here walking in this valley. The forward observers are following that ridge line so they can see everything. And so it was constantly up and down mountains, moving from place to place, going through jump school, through survival school. But it was as challenging as it was. There are very few times where I look back, I'm like, where I can think of, like, points in my mind where I went through, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Like, that just wasn't an option. you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
What a beautiful community, right? I mean, because if you were out here in the world, this is where being alone in the world is dangerous because there's nothing, to say you can't stop.
No.
Nothing to say you can't quit. No one here saying you can't quit.
No.
Like in the Marine Corps, you fall out of a run, you can't quit.
Like being a firefighter, some roles as a police officer, but outside of that, like you're not going to work as a dentist and facing that situation where you're like, I have to get through this today.
So that's why I believe like the cold plunging and going to intense stuff and to hard work intentionally, it's super helpful because that's why you can go to your business and to your family and that becomes easy. Same over here, trying to manage 3 companies, it becomes easy, because you have put the base in place and gone through the hard things in order for that to become easy.
Because you're going to face hard things in life. No matter what you do, it is just a matter of how much practice you put yourself in to perform in that moment.
Yeah.
We've talked about that with sports, like those guys put themselves in that position so that when they're in that position, they're able to perform. I know we're running short on time, so I would love for Jeff to tell us where we can find you. What are you doing? What are your plans and God's plans that we probably do not know? But like for you to close us with that.
Wrap up. So God put something really big on my me and my buddy Aaron's heart. We are currently in a developmental process of creating a supplement company through our nonprofit to fund what God put on our heart. So it's called Rise Above Health and Performance. So we are going to be building on God's timing 50,000 square foot ministry health and performance center for youth athletes, 7th to 12th grade. And also we're going to have a separate health and wellness program for recovering addicts. That's what God put on our heart. It's a $5 million project. So he gave us an outlet and a route to get there. So that's what we're going to be working on and bringing to Oklahoma. We're going to teach athletes to put Christ first and let everything else fall in line. So that's what we got coming up. From that standpoint, what God's really got in our heart. For me personally, Houston, High Rock, 7 weeks we'll be going to punch our ticket to the World Championship. So that's our goal for this year. That's kind of like that big goal. We'll see where God takes us from there, but that's where we're going to be wrapping up. Is our Rise Above ministry is going to be our main priority, developing that supplement. And again, people are like, it's $5 million. Like, that's a lot of money. You really think I'm doing? Like, oh yeah, we'll get there. Like God brings you to it. He'll bring you through it. So that's what we're working on right now is our Rise Above, our ministry. And then for me personally, my goal is to win the World Championships with my buddy Aaron this year and knock off 700,000 other people. So that's our goal. That's what we're going to go to. And if we don't get it this year, we'll get it next year. We're just going to keep going until it happens.
Okay, and last, is there like a social media for Rise Above?
Not yet. So we haven't created that because it's on the ground floor. We talked a little bit about we're not going to put it out there till we're ready. But I have my own social media. It's Jeff Hambrecht is my name. It's public. You can go on there and look. It's a lot of really
much. How do you spell your last name?
Hambrecht. You can go on there. You can reach out.
You on Instagram?
On Instagram. Yeah, that's on there. I also have a men's group that meets at 9:30 at Victory Mattress Outlet on Northwoods Expressway. We stream my sermon from back home, my home church, and we do fellowship for about a half hour afterwards on Sundays at 9:30.
Okay, in the morning.
Okay, every neat. Sunday, open invite. I know a lot of people coming into the faith thing. It's such a, where do I start? Come on in, you'll hear a message, and then we're going to talk about what we got out of it. It's our faith community and then what we can take into the world. So that's every 9:30, Victory Mattress Outlet on Northwest Expressway. Anyone can come anytime. Not trying to pull you away from your own church. Come to it on top of it. Come to it on top of it. Because I know a lot of times people watch these sermons and go to church, but it's like, well, what did I get out of it? So God put on my heart to be like, hey, you're already watching this. Go watch it with community. And then you can help guys who are struggling. It's a community. It's a faith-based community where iron sharpens iron. We got a couple guys that are coming out. We just started. So any of you guys that want to come, we'd love to have you out there and bring your wisdom and knowledge into the circle.
That's Riley Powell's place?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Cool. I had dinner with those guys last night.
9:30 a.m. every Sunday. We'd love to have you guys come out.
That is beautiful. Thank you for coming.
And if you need any workout tips, let me know.
Yeah, he
If you need any
needs them.
workout tips, let me know.
Workout tips, yeah, I'm gonna get them from here. I'm gonna get them from here.
Generous offer.
I'm waiting for all you guys to come do one of mine.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Is I want to see a Maverick group come and see what I'm talking about.
We'll also record it.
Yeah, if I get a little faster,
If you
Lane
do a
will be
little bit
out. He's
faster,
like,
I'll
"What?"
come- I'll
Then you'll
come
be on. Then I'll
Oh,
be on Lane's level. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you guys for listening. Have
Yes.
a good one.
Yeah, I appreciate you fellas having me on. Anytime you want, I'm free for you guys. So
Awesome,
I
bro.
appreciate it.
It
Yeah,
was
and I'll be
so
back
nice.
tonight. It's the
Thank you,
same
dude.
place, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How many guys usually get on the Thursdays?
I don't know. We might see 20 here.
Oh, heck yeah. That's solid.